here today just to tell the truth. So hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
The thing that happened is Tupac's family is reportedly deciding to investigate the rumors that Diddy was involved in Tupac's.
The room was silent, the kind of silence that buzzes in your ears as the courtroom absorbed the latest revelation. Whispers rippled through the gallery like an electric current, eyes darting back and forth, trying to process the gravity of what they'd just heard. In the world of high-stakes celebrity controversy, the name Sean Diddy Combs was already synonymous with power, wealth, and influence. But now it was taking on a much darker connotation, one that seemed to unravel decades of carefully curated image and untouchable status.
You know, I suppose it could be coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence, and especially given the nature of the case.
Yes.
Because when you look at who is examining these various witnesses, you know, especially female alleged victims, of which there will be 4.
The fresh allegations hitting the headlines are nothing short of explosive. New testimony, leaked files, and whispered accounts from those who were once close to the music mogul have painted a picture so grim it's hard to believe it took this long to surface. But maybe that's the point. When you're sitting atop a multi-million-dollar empire, surrounded by enablers and shielded by layers of NDAs and loyalists, how much can truly pierce that armor? Yet, here we are, watching the once-celebrated king of bad boy records wrestle with the weight of accusations that seem to stretch further and further with each passing day.
U.S. attorney, what you want you want the best attorneys you can have in there, and it really, I know you want to, like we said, appearances matter, but you want to win this case, and you need, like you said, it's harder for them.
And it all started with a grainy video clip, just a few seconds of shaky footage that made its way online, showing a figure in a dark hooded sweatshirt pacing outside a gated mansion. The timestamp placed it at the driveway of Kim Porter, Diddy's late former partner, on a night that would later be scrutinized as pivotal to the web of allegations now engulfing him. The courtroom gasped when the prosecution introduced the clip, not just for its eerie quality, but for the implications it carried. Was this the moment when everything began to unravel? And who was this shadowed figure caught in a fleeting moment of vulnerability on tape? The questions hung in the air like smoke, thick and choking, with no clear answers.
You know what I'm saying? Just with this Cassie thing, I didn't know her, but I knew somebody like her, and that was Kim Porter. I didn't know Cassie, but I knew somebody who was going through the same thing she was going through, and that was Kim Porter.
But this wasn't the only footage that had people talking. Testimony from Courtney Burgess, a former insider with close ties to Diddy's circle, introduced another layer of intrigue. Burgess claimed to be in possession of multiple flash drives containing recordings that allegedly captured some of the most shocking moments from Diddy's infamous gatherings. According to him, these weren't just ordinary parties. They were meticulously orchestrated events where the line between entertainment and exploitation blurred in ways that left even hardened industry veterans uneasy. And the names tied to these tapes? Let's just say they included some of the biggest stars of the era, individuals whose careers could crumble if even a fraction of these claims were true. The courtroom grew tense as Burgess described the contents of the drives. He spoke of hidden cameras, strategically placed to capture private moments without the knowledge of those in attendance. Picture frames, ceiling corners, even inconspicuous objects like vases, allegedly rigged with recording devices that turned Diddy's homes into surveillance hubs. Burgess, who claimed to have received the drives from Kim Porter herself before her untimely passing, described the footage as disturbing and unlike anything I've ever seen. He didn't hold back as he detailed how these tapes allegedly showed individuals engaging in activities they'd later vehemently denied, some of whom appeared to be completely unaware they were being recorded.
But she was only on the stand for about 30 minutes, and the big takeaway is this story that she tells regarding the email she got from her daughter in December of 2011. This is where Cassie Ventura writes her mother and another person explaining or expressing that Sean Puffy Combs, she said, threatened to put out explicit videos of her. Again, this is around the holiday time, and also saying that he would do something to the person that she was.
And then there was the manuscript, a chilling piece of evidence that has sparked just as much speculation as the tapes. Titled Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side, the document was allegedly penned by Porter in her final months, offering a raw and unfiltered glimpse into her life with Diddy. The manuscript was said to detail years of manipulation, betrayal, and power games that extended far beyond their personal relationship. It was briefly available on Amazon before being pulled down, reportedly at the request of Diddy's children, who argued it tarnished their mother's memory. But not before copies of it began circulating, fueling the narrative that Porter had been silenced to protect secrets she was no longer willing to keep. And what about the rumors swirling around those secrets? Burgess's testimony hinted at a broader conspiracy, one that links Diddy not only to Porter's struggles but to other high-profile incidents that have haunted the entertainment world for decades. There's the whispered connection to the tragic demises of Shakur and the notorious B.I.G., two icons whose murders remain unsolved to this day. Could it be that the very empire Diddy built was constructed on a foundation of secrets so dark they remained buried for years? Insiders have started to break ranks, pointing fingers and sharing cryptic comments about what really happened at those infamous parties where the guest list was as exclusive as it was incriminating.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
The most damning claims, however, came from former associates who described a pattern of control and intimidation that extended far beyond the music industry. One former bad boy artist, speaking anonymously, recalled moments when Diddy's power felt absolute, describing him as a man who could make or break careers with a single phone call. He didn't just want to be the boss, the source said. He wanted to own you, body and soul. This sentiment echoed through the courtroom as witnesses recounted tales of loyalty bought with lavish gifts and fear instilled through veiled threats. It painted a picture of a man who thrived on control, using his wealth and influence to keep everyone around him in check. And then there's the haunting story of the cameras. According to leaked court documents, investigators uncovered a network of surveillance equipment embedded throughout Diddy's properties, from his sprawling Beverly Hills mansion to his private yacht. These weren't your standard security systems either. These were sophisticated setups designed to capture high-definition footage without detection, raising questions about who else might have been watching and why.
Prosecution, I believe, was trying to show that level of control that they talked about at the very beginning of this case. And then to see that her family talks about being intimidated and fearing for Cassie's safety. And that's why they sent the money, they said, because they were really concerned. We also learned that the mother's the one who said, you know what, I want to take pictures of this abuse. Again, the mom said she did not know about that.
As the courtroom proceedings unfolded, one name kept coming up: Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former long-term partner who recently emerged as a key voice in the growing chorus of accusations. Her claims of years of mistreatment at the hands of the music mogul have added a deeply personal dimension to the case, painting a picture of a man whose public persona masked a much darker reality. Legal experts have suggested that Cassie's testimony could be the linchpin in the prosecution's case, offering first-hand insight into the alleged psychological and emotional tactics Diddy used to maintain control over those in his orbit. And just when it seemed like the revelations couldn't get any more shocking, another bombshell dropped. A former employee, speaking under the condition of anonymity, described an elaborate system of NDAs that attendees at Diddy's gatherings were required to sign. These documents, the source claimed, were designed not just to protect privacy but to ensure silence. An ironclad agreement that shielded Diddy from any potential fallout.
When it came to the explicit videos, the prosecution asked her, what was your reaction to hearing that your daughter said she was concerned about those explicit videos? When it came to this idea that Cassie was saying, you know, Mom, Sean Combs is threatening to put out explicit videos of me, she said her reaction to that was she was physically sick, and that she said, quote, the tapes through me.
All of this has left the public reeling as the carefully constructed image of Sean Diddy Combs continues to crumble under the weight of these allegations. The legal battles ahead promise to be as explosive as the revelations themselves, with investigators reportedly combing through years' worth of financial records, guest lists, and travel logs to piece together the full picture. And with every new detail that emerges, the question becomes not just how far the accusations will go, but how deep the roots of this alleged empire of control truly run. And just when you think the story couldn't dive deeper into chaos, another layer of betrayal and manipulation surfaces, this time pulling in names and events that stretch far beyond the glittering walls of Diddy's empire. The attorneys, investigators, and insiders circling this case aren't just focused on the allegations already laid bare. They're digging into a timeline that unravels decades of whispered secrets and unresolved controversy. At the center of it all lies a pattern, an intricate web of power plays, calculated moves, and the kind of loyalty that's bought and shattered when things go wrong.
It is a big part of the case in reference to this notion that she was forced into it. And remember, the criminal enterprise and the racketeering, according to that indictment, is about him using force and threats and arson and all of these things, they said, for his desires. So that's why I think a lot of what we're hearing are these details.
Let's start with the parties, because that's where the cracks in the facade first began to show. These weren't just lavish get-togethers with an A-list guest list and a bottomless budget. According to new insider accounts, they were meticulously crafted stages for control. Every detail, from the guest list to the music, was curated to uphold Diddy's image as the ultimate kingmaker. But it wasn't just about image, it was about leverage. Power wasn't just currency at these events, it was the air everyone breathed. Witnesses have come forward describing how guests were often reminded, quietly, subtly, but unmistakably, that being part of Diddy's circle was both a privilege and a trap. You could bask in the glow of his success, but only if you played by his unspoken rules.
Even the judge has made mention of not wanting this to be a case sort of built on gossip, but really making sure that these jurors are hearing the meat and potatoes of what we're here for. And that's the criminal enterprise, racketeering, trafficking, and making sure that we're hearing information that somehow lead to all of those things.
And those rules, they were as rigid as they were invisible. For one, loyalty wasn't optional, it was demanded. Former attendees have shared stories about being pulled aside for private conversations that felt more like interrogations. One source described being asked about their personal relationships and allegiances, with the questions framed as casual chatter, but laced with an underlying threat. He always made you feel like he knew more about you than you knew about yourself, the source said. It was unsettling, like he had a dossier on everyone in the room. Then there's the matter of the tapes, because apparently those flash drives that Courtney Burgess claims to have are only the tip of the iceberg. Investigators are now reportedly combing through a treasure trove of digital evidence, including footage that was allegedly recorded without the knowledge of those involved. And here's where it gets even murkier. Multiple sources have hinted that some of the footage includes high-profile figures engaging in behavior that could not only ruin reputations, but potentially sparked legal nightmares. The question isn't just who's on the tapes, it's how far Diddy was willing to go to keep this footage hidden and what he might have leveraged it for in the past. One former associate has alleged that the tapes were used as a form of insurance, a kind of unspoken blackmail that ensured silence and compliance from some of the industry's most powerful players. It's not just about having dirt on people, the associate said. It's about control. If you know someone has something on you, you think twice before crossing them. And for those who did attempt to distance themselves from Diddy's orbit, the fallout was swift and brutal. Careers stalled, opportunities vanished, and industry doors that once swung open with ease suddenly slammed shut. The message was clear. Loyalty wasn't just appreciated, it was enforced.
We are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward. And
this brings us to the ongoing investigation into financial records tied to Diddy's various ventures. Sources close to the case have suggested that the money trail could reveal connections to some of the most infamous moments in entertainment history. Certain payments and transactions, when placed on a timeline, raise questions about who is being paid off, for what, and why. And let's not forget the whispers about offshore accounts and shadowy deals that seem to trace back to some of the same individuals now being implicated in these allegations. But the financial entanglements don't stop at hidden accounts or mysterious payouts. Investigators are now reportedly looking into real estate transactions tied to some of Diddy's most extravagant properties. One particular deal, involving a mansion purchased under a shell company, has raised eyebrows due to its proximity to several other high-profile homes owned by figures connected to the entertainment industry. Sources close to the investigation have hinted that these properties may have served dual purposes. Luxury residences on the surface, but allegedly operating as private venues for some of the more secretive gatherings that have now come under scrutiny. The question investigators are asking isn't just who attended these gatherings, but who paid to keep them off the radar.
We are not done, and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
Adding fuel to the fire, there's the matter of a now infamous guest list from one of these events, which was reportedly leaked during a private deposition. The list, described as a who's who of power players, included names from not just music, but also sports, business, and even politics. What's raising the most concern, however, are the alleged notes scribbled in the margins of the list. Cryptic annotations that some believe reference favors owed, alliances formed, and in some cases individuals who were no longer welcome. While the authenticity of this list hasn't been publicly confirmed, the idea that such meticulous records were kept aligns disturbingly well with the stories of control and leverage that keep emerging. And then there's the matter of surveillance, because apparently the cameras weren't limited to Diddy's personal properties. Former security staff have come forward claiming they were instructed to monitor certain individuals even outside of these events. One guard described following a guest after a party under orders to make sure they didn't talk to the wrong people. Another recounted being asked to install listening devices in hotel rooms reserved for certain meetings. These claims, if proven, could expose an entirely new layer of calculated manipulation, suggesting that Diddy's alleged need for control extended far beyond the gated walls of his estate.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there.
But perhaps the most chilling aspect of this unfolding saga is the growing list of people who are now speaking out, many of whom had remained silent for years out of fear or loyalty. Former employees, ex-partners, and even close friends have begun to share stories that paint a picture of a man who thrived on control and manipulation. One former bodyguard who worked with Diddy during the height of his career described him as obsessed with knowing everyone's weaknesses. According to the bodyguard, Diddy would often ask pointed questions about people's personal lives, using the information to build what he referred to as profiles. He didn't just want to know who you were, the bodyguard said. He wanted to know what made you tick, what scared you, what motivated you, what he could use against you if he needed to. And it wasn't just the people directly in his circle who felt the weight of his influence. Industry insiders have pointed to a series of incidents involving rival artists and executives who found themselves on the wrong side of Diddy's ambitions. One particularly notorious story involves a rival record label executive who suddenly found themselves under investigation for financial misconduct, a situation that some now believe was orchestrated, at least in part, by Diddy's team.
Understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
Even now, as the case against him continues to build, there are those who remain wary of speaking out, fearing retaliation or exposure. Legal experts have noted that the sheer breadth of the allegations makes this one of the most complex cases in recent memory. With accusations ranging from financial impropriety to personal misconduct, the challenge lies in connecting the dots in a way that paints a clear picture of accountability. But as more people come forward and more evidence is uncovered, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The walls around Diddy's empire are starting to crumble. And yet, for all the revelations and allegations, there's still an air of mystery surrounding the man at the center of it all. How much of this is true? How much is exaggeration or opportunism? And most importantly, how far does this go? With each new detail that emerges, the story becomes more tangled, more shocking, and more impossible to ignore. But what's most unsettling is the realization that this may only be the beginning.
Some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week.
So what do you think? Are we uncovering the truth about one of the music industry's most powerful figures? Or is this a case of rumors spiraling out of control? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because trust us, this story is far from over. And as always, stay tuned, because the next chapter might just blow everything wide open.